Now, at this point in the story, 25 to 28, you've never married.
No, I did get married. That's what I was about to say.
Oh, okay.
My college boyfriend that was in the band, we eventually got married.
Oh, okay.
In this time. So I had dated him from the time I was 18, because I met him in college. And I think I was 24 when we got married.
Okay. And he knew what you were doing?
Yeah, that was the thing, is that it was never a part of our life, but he was fully supportive. He was like, yeah, go do it, go try it. You seem to like it, keep doing it. And so we had that kind of relationship for 8 years, from the time I was 18 until 28.
So you get married, and you've been doing this now at this Nutcracker Suite for 3 years. You're 28. Then what happens?
He gets signed to another label in Los Angeles.
The husband.
And he wanted me to move to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I guess I can do this in Los Angeles too.
Sure.
So why not? So I
and
didn't.
Were you done with New York?
I didn't want another winter. I was kind of like, yeah, maybe the sunshine in California would be great. Yes. I had been to California a couple of times already, so I liked it, but I didn't like it like New York. You know, I battled the first 6 months. Couldn't
LA?
get it. Yeah, I couldn't get a good cup of coffee. It was before the coffee shop boom. There you could get a cup of coffee at any bodega. Couldn't get a good slice of pizza. Couldn't get a good bagel. None of the diners were good. Like, it was just, it wasn't.
And in New York, you can get a cup of coffee at midnight.
Yeah, for like $1.25, and it was amazing. It was always a good cup of coffee. So I had my issues with Los Angeles, and but I came here and I decided to go straight back into the same industry. So I looked around, found a place that was hiring.
LA Weekly?
Yep. LA Weekly. Found a place that was hiring, jumped straight in, worked there for 2 months. It wasn't the best place either. The woman who ran it was a drug addict, and I caught her stealing from one of the other girls that was there. And one of the other girls that worked there was her partner, which I didn't really realize that at the time. But as I'm watching this whole thing happening, I'm thinking, if she's stealing from her, what's going to keep her from stealing from me?
Nothing.
Nothing. So I came in one day, gathered all of my things, said I'm leaving, and then called the girl that she was stealing from and said, so just so you know, she hid a bunch of things up in the attic. And at this point, they had already locked her out and everything. So it was very chaotic and dramatic. But that woman who I called her to let her know that her partner was stealing from her, she liked the fact that I had such high integrity and that I was willing to step out of my comfort zone to say that when I didn't have to. I didn't have to say anything. So we ended up becoming best friends and partners. And we started a dungeon together. And
what's a dungeon?
A dungeon is a place where people come to be tortured.
Okay. Now, you realize you just said that with the greatest laugh.
Yeah.
A dungeon is
It seems so obvious to me. Haven't you seen movies? It's a dungeon.
Okay.
People come to be tortured.
So you rent a place?
Yeah, we rented a loft in downtown.
You go downtown. Now, downtown is not that big a deal at that point.
No, this was in '97.
Oh, no.
It was Skid Row
Scary.
everywhere, super scary, but you could get really cheap places.
Of course you could.
And the rents were, were really, really cheap, and you weren't bothered by anybody. It was all artists.
Yeah, and you bought a loft, and you created a dungeon with this woman. And what did you call it?
We called it Power Structures.
How did you get clients?
We advertised in all the magazines. I had already been advertising for years. In New York, they had advertised for me, so I already knew where to put all the ads in.
Like kind of the LA Weekly
LA
type.
Weekly, there was a magazine called Domination Directory International, which was kind of like the
This is all before the internet.
Yeah. It was like the yearbook of our industry. People would get it every 3 months and like, who's still there? So yeah, it was pre-internet. Business was great. It was so much fun. She did a lot of performances in clubs. So I started doing performances in clubs.
Dancing?
No, like just live domination. She could use a bullwhip. I could use a bullwhip. My dad taught me how when I was a kid. So we would do these performances together.
With her?
With her, yep. We would have submissive men and women that would come on stage and do these shows with us. So we started doing that, and we had a great run together. But pre-internet, I had a client who was like on the cusp of the internet world, like knew how to do everything, and he said, this is the new thing, you need to build a website. So I was the first dominatrix to have a website.
Literally?
Literally.
Wow.
And
in what year?
This was in 97.
In 1997, you become the first dominatrix to have a website.
And that's my industry. People who are tech savvy, a little geeky, very sci-fi driven, that kind of mind, that's my demographic.
Oh,
those are the kind of people. So
those are your people.
Those are my people.
The people who go to Comic-Con?
Yes. Dragon Con, Comic Con, those
Dragon Con and Comic Con and WonderCon, those are the people that also like going to dungeons.
Yeah.
Oh.
The fantasy realm.
The fantasy realm.
So that catapulted my name very quickly because there was no Google search.
No.
There were only a few places that you could go, and these people would find me. So with his help, I also became one of the first people in the adult industry to have a membership-based site in 98.
So this man who was
He's a client.
He was a client of yours, and he knew the internet.
Yep.
And he became your partner in creating a website and then
He was my servant more than a partner. He didn't want anything from it. He just wanted to do it for me.
And so he starts the website, and then you start, at the time, a very new and very unusual concept, which is membership.
Mm-hmm. I started doing tons of photo shoots
Okay.
and just putting up photos. As technology started getting better, then you could do videos. But the videos refreshed every 1 second, so it was like stop animation.
So it wasn't good quality.
I still remember. It was it was very funny, but people loved it, and people started buying it.
And how much was it to become a member?
Like $50 a month.
So $50 a month, you get to see all these videos and photos and all this
and
stuff.
And they never had that before.
No.
So people were paying.
Yep.
So every time that a new technology would come along, I saw myself I'm a business person, so I saw myself as very marketable. So I immediately started marketing myself in any way that I could. So I started doing performances. Then I started doing photo shoots, and I did a membership-based site, and then I started doing videos, VHSs. And then the videos turned into DVDs, and now it's all digital downloads. So I just kind of kept going and building this this empire. And so 23 years now I've been doing it, and every year I'm like, maybe it's time for me to retire. But then I'm still going, so I'm like, when am I ever going to retire? I don't know.
And so beyond the membership sites and beyond the website, do you still do sessions?
Mm-hmm.
And
Those are the most fun.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Because they're live. They're like more like a Broadway theater.
It's like a theater, but it's the give and take. It's like playing ball with somebody. You throw the ball to them, they throw it back. You throw the ball to them, they throw it back. The other stuff is like, you don't have anybody to throw the ball to.
Yeah,
so
because you're so iconic in your industry, your sessions must be much more expensive than an average person's
Not
session.
really. There are a lot of women that don't have the experience that I have,
Right.
that don't have the studio setup that I have, that charge way more. But I don't know. I've just always thought, I would charge $300 an hour.
Mm-hmm. So to see you in a session is $300 an hour.
And obviously, I'm not working every hour. I do a couple of hours
of
appointments a week. But I thought $300 an hour is a lot of money.
You bet.
So $450, that just seems like too much. So I never really felt like I wanted to rake somebody over.
Right.
So I thought $300 is fine. So there are women that I've trained that work beside me that make $300 an hour, right with me. I don't feel like I need to put myself above them. I feel like it's a nice fare.
Now, let's talk about the personal part of your life. You did get married. How long were you married for?
We divorced a year after I moved to LA.
So you were married for?
We were married for 4 years, 3.5 years, 4 years. In an 8-year relationship.
In an 8-year relationship, 3.5 years married. Do you feel that your work lifestyle had anything to do with your relationship problems or divorce, or not really?
It was more his work and his lifestyle, I think.
How so?
He was a musician. He wanted to go to every party. He wanted to live this lavish lifestyle. Sushi dinners every night. I was the breadwinner.
Yes, you were.
So it all came out of my pocket. He got money. He made money, but it wasn't like the money that I made. And I realized that I really wasn't putting any money aside. And so I started saying, you know, I'm 28. I want to buy a house one day. I want to do this. And so I started reining things in. And I suggested that he should get a job. This is literally what made us get a divorce. I suggested that he should get a job. And he's like, why should I get a job when you can go and work one more hour and make the same amount of money that I would make in a week? True.
Yes,
but he's putting his value over mine.
Right.
And I had already done so much in the longevity of our relationship. So it was my self-worth versus his self-worth, and I was like, done. I'm done.
Did you leave the marriage?
We both did. It was a heated argument. Well, fine, let's get a divorce. Fine, I'll go file the papers tomorrow.
And then you described the divorce as amicable?
I mean...
Modestly.
Yeah.
Did you stay friends?
We didn't talk for like 6 or 7 months, and we literally bumped into each other at a club. Like very Hollywood style. I'm walking backwards, he's walking backwards. We slam into each other, we both turn around, and it's like...
Yeah.
And we started talking. You look good. Yeah, so do you. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we stayed friends after that.
Do your kids, friends, parents know what you do?
Some do. Yeah.
And they're generally okay?
Yeah.
One last question. If your daughter, 15, 20 years from now, 20, 25 years old, says, Mom, I want to do what you do. You okay with that?
I am.
What advice would you offer her?
Do what makes you happy. Don't do it for money. Do it because don't do it because you think it's an easy way out from having to work a normal job, because it's not. I see a lot of people get into it, and there's like a 7-year cycle of people who'll get into it, work it for a couple of years, and then just bail out. And I know that because I've been in it for 23 years. So I've seen a lot of cycles.
A lot of people come and go.
You can't do this job unless you really love it, unless you love the psychology of it. The money can be good. The money is not as great as I probably could have made a lot better money being a doctor.
Well, you could have made a lot better money being in pornography, but you chose
Probably,
not to do
yeah. Probably not as long as of a lifespan, but
sure.
yeah, I mean, I could have done anything. And for whatever reason, I migrated toward this, and every year it just got more and more inspiring. Like, I want to know more, and I want to understand more.
Are you going to stay in this, or are you about done?
Yeah, I keep wondering that myself. And then things just keep happening that keeps me going. Like, I've been training people. I see a lot of couples now, so I do a lot of couples therapy, trying to teach people how to incorporate it into their lives. I started dabbling in real estate years ago, so if I ever wanted to bail out, I could. I could at any minute. I'll just sell everything and go do something else. But something just kind of keeps me in.
Well, Isabella, you have been a breathtaking, like candid, vulnerable, authentic, and transparent guest.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed it half as much as I have. I knew when I met you that you were going to be a fascinating guest on this show.